ASMR-tist AJ Moore, and I would just like to talk to you for a little bit using a soft whisper. This really helps people relax. So if you hear and you need to relax, well, here we go. I'm going to go through some things that people ask me quite a bit, and one of which is, how long have you been drawing? Or, have you always been an artist? And yes, I have always been an artist, and I've been drawing ever since I was a little kid. The earliest I can remember is about 4. But I've been told that I was drawing ever since I could hold anything in my hand, whether it was a crayon or one of these fancy markers. Actually, I didn't have markers like this when I was a kid, no. I had the Crayola types. You know, the ones that are really thick and they only have one tip. These right here have a pointed tip. That's for the fine details. Details. Gotta pay attention to details. And the other side of the marker, it has a broad nib. Nib. This is for covering larger areas. You can get a larger area of your artwork covered faster. These markers have a good sound, by the way. Sometimes when I'm drawing, I want to just put them together so I can hear the sound. Another question I get asked is, what's your favorite thing to draw? Well, my favorite thing depends on how I'm feeling. I started drawing cartoons. I loved cartoons. I loved animation. So, and I believe it's still one of my most favorite things to draw is cartoons. They have just great lines and very, very expressive characters, no matter who it is. Another thing I love to draw is dogs. I absolutely love dogs. I don't have any dogs right now, but I did have 2 dogs. 2 dogs. First it was 1 dog, then it was 2 dogs, but I've never had 3 dogs. But I had 2 dogs, and a smaller dog and a larger dog. The smaller dog was a breed called a Catahoula. Catahoula leopard dog, or Catahoula hog dog. They were originally bred in Tennessee, and they were used mainly to hunt hogs. Now my dog was not a hunting dog at all. Her name was Wendy, as in the wind. And Wendy was really, really sweet. And she had brown with white on her chest. And she was speckled. Catahoulas, they resemble Dalmatians if a Dalmatian was brown colored. And sometimes they have the blue eye. Either one or both of them or none of them. Wendy didn't have blue eyes. She just had good old brown eyes. And she was very sweet. But Catahoulas are very, very stubborn. They do not want to do what you say, no matter what. They always want the treat, but they don't was very nasty. He was super nasty. That was one of his nicknames. We called him his nasty, because he was nasty. And what I mean is, when I would give him his food in the mornings, only at his morning time, he would go over to the food, because he ate from a trough, because that's how big he was. It was a huge trough that he ate from. And he would just go over to the food, sniff it first, and then he would lift his leg up and squirt pee into his food. Oh my goodness. And it was only little squirts. And then he would sniff it again, like, okay, I think I've seasoned it enough. And then he would start eating it. You can't make it up. I wonder, does anyone else have a dog that does that? I'm sure Planet was not alone. If he was on the internet, he would have had a whole group of dogs coming to his page saying, yes, I do the same thing. But he would do very nasty things. Like he would deliberately stand in poop. Deliberately. I don't understand, but he was really, really funny. So I had to make sure I would have to bathe him a lot before I could bring him inside. Planet lived about 10 years. That's a long time for a mastiff. And then Wendy, she was over 20 years old. 20 years old. She was old enough to vote. And it was weird when they finally passed. I haven't gotten another dog since. I believe that was 2009. It's been an incredibly long time, but now since I'm a traveling artist, I don't think it's fair to have a dog and I'm hardly ever here. I'm always on the road and it's just not fair to have a dog. You have to think about someone other than yourself sometimes, because dogs, they like the attention, and it's no point in having one if you're not there for it. But I do like reptiles. Reptiles are a little bit more hardy. I had a bearded dragon. He was cool. He used to sit on my shoulder. He would sit on my shoulder and he would crawl up to my head. I think he just liked to be high up, I guess. Maybe that's a bearded dragon thing or a lizard thing. I've had frogs. Well, actually, they weren't frogs. They were actually toads. There are a lot of toads here. But I would have them for a little while, then I would just let them go. Because I found out it's not good to take animals out of the wild and make them pets. It's better to just leave them in the wild. But the bearded dragon, I clearly did not get him out of the wild because they are native to Australia. And, but anyway, I went off on a long talk about animals because I just love animals. Getting back to art, I left off where I was saying, what do I like to draw most? That's how I led to animals. Okay. Now let's talk about what I like drawing the least. What I like drawing the least is, I would say, perspective is the thing I don't like drawing. Well, it's almost a tie. Perspective and robots. because I did not want to draw all the little parts. It's just, I didn't want to be bothered with. It's something about robots that it just doesn't, it's just not my favorite thing. But since I say draw things that you don't like, I've been pushing myself to draw more robots. So I drew an Optimus Prime and a Megatron. I absolutely love Optimus Prime. I love Transformers. The G1 Transformers. And Generation 2 was alright as well. Ultra Magnus. And Hot Rod or Rodimus Prime. But, yeah, robots is the thing I like drawing the least. And then perspective is the second because it's just challenging. Especially when I'm drawing buildings. Buildings and landscapes are a little bit easier. I love drawing landscapes. But buildings is also very similar to robots because it takes symmetry. Maybe it's symmetry that gets me the most. I don't know. I really don't know. So, okay, my favorite medium. My favorite medium of all time is watercolor. Watercolor, 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 watercolor. Watercolor is my favorite medium because I can be free with the brush. I have a brush here. I can make broad brush strokes. And it takes patience because you have to let an area dry first if you want to layer it and make it a little bit darker. Because you wouldn't just throw a glob of, if you wanted an area black, you wouldn't just take a glob of paint and you would layer it. It's a better technique than just throwing a glob. Globs is mainly for acrylics. Watercolor I absolutely love. And then you ask, well, why do you use so many markers if watercolor is your favorite? Well, because markers have lended themselves very well to speed and precision. Certain things I will only want watercolor, but most things that I need to get done, I use the markers. There was a time I used a lot of pencil. Pencil was very, very fun, but I developed carpal tunnel in my hand, and so it'll start burning, and then it'll start hurting because you have to press just a little bit with pencil, and then if you want it darker, you have to press harder. I can't do it anymore. So the carpal tunnel has taken away my ability to use pencil, at least color pencils. So sad, right? There's always another medium to use. Another question that I get is, digital. So I did a ton of digital art. I would use Photoshop. I would use Flash. Now I noticed they have other painting programs that I like to dabble with when people let me use them on their iPads or something. I'm like, ooh, this one's cool. You can feel a lot of art, a lot of the canvas, the digital canvas. I like it because you can add different effects. And on a lot of my pieces now, I incorporate digital elements into the piece. Sometimes the backgrounds I'll do digitally, and sometimes with little sparks in the eyes and glows or something like that, or shines. I can put those in after the fact on the computer. Digital works really, really well with that. So I'm not against many forms of art. I tried to dabble in a lot of different things like charcoal and pastel and very little oil paint. Oil is probably the thing I would like to get into later in life. I didn't do it earlier because if you're a traditional artist, you know this is a fact that art supplies are super, super expensive. Oh my goodness, they are so expensive. And just one of these markers here, they are $9.99. That's almost $10 for a marker. And when you use the marker, you can get it depending on how much you're coloring with. This is a flesh tone, so I use this a lot. So this one will dry out quickly, so you have to buy the refills. Now the refills are a lot more affordable, but they're about $5 or $6. But the refill, you can fill it. And this is the wrong refill. I'll give you a demonstration. They both match up. Don't know if you can see that. As long as they match up, you got the right one. Every now and then, I'll fill the wrong marker with the refill, but it makes a good hybrid color. If you ever do that, just make sure that you get the right one next time. And eventually it'll go back to the right color because you'll use all of the other color that you put on that was incorrect. So basically, you just refill it. You can either do it that way, or you can pull this nib off and fill it that way. There's not much of a sound, unfortunately. I love the sounds of water. That's an interesting sound when the top goes on, but let's see if we can hear this. Yeah, we can hear that. Yeah, you can hear the ink in there. And I reckon the next question would be, where do I get some markers like that? Where can you get some markers? Well, you could go on Blix. I like to buy mine through Blix. And here in town we have a Jerry's Artorama that I go to and get a lot of the markers, but they don't always have the refills. So I order the refills at Blix. And some people think I draw in Sharpie. No. Now, I've seen some amazing, absolutely amazing work done in Sharpie, but I don't use Sharpie. I mainly use these to autograph things and sometimes to fill in a large area if I'm just doodling. Something else is this white pen here. Some people like to use whiteout. It's good for making white on, if you draw something in marker. There's no white marker because it would have to be opaque. So this is a white pen. It's very opaque. But the thing about it, the solution in here, it's very thick. And it doesn't always write. So here's a trick.